right, Metal Summoners, we are back with you guys. It is Wednesday. As always, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. You know we're not going to let you down. We are really, really excited, as always, that you are taking times out of your evenings, your days, your works, and your personal lives to spend it with us for the next little bit of time. As always, we're your Island of Misfit Toys. We've got Angel Alamo. We've got the real Psycho Steve. We've got Empress Bobby Dreyer. And I'm Jay. We thank you guys ever so much, as always, like I said, for tuning in with us. But let's bring in our guest. Come on, Metal Summoners. Let's put our love into you. We are joined by Plasmatic Guitar Duo of Richie Stotts and West Beach. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much for taking some time.
Wait, I'm overdressed for this. Fuck this. Fuck this. I'm too overdressed.
Oh, Bobby. There's only one Bobby Dreyer.
Amen.
But Wes and Richie, thank you so much for taking some time to hang out with us this evening, guys. We really appreciate it, gents. Thank you so much.
All right. Anytime.
Right on. Well, first and foremost, talk a little bit about what you guys have going on. Wes, what are you up to? Richie, you just had like a record come out, didn't you, recently? A solo album?
Not recently, no. But I am doing something right now, actually, on the musical side. And I'll just throw this out that I'm working. Is Wayne Kramer from the MC5?
Yeah.
Is doing like a benefit. It's called Jail Guitar Doors. It's a Clash song, and the proceeds go to prisoners in jail and getting musical instruments for them to jail. I don't know all the details, but That's about what I have. And there's this guitar player in Memphis named Joey Killingsworth, and he has a cover band of Mutants. It's called Mutants from the Monster, and it's from a Black Oak, Arkansas song. And he's the kind of like the band leader, and there's some people playing guitar on it. So I've been asked to play guitar on it, and I'm kind of working on that.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, my apologies for that. I had because I had a post sent to me recently. It might just be something as simple as like a new vinyl release of some.
I did this cover of "Come On Everybody" by Eddie Cochran.
Oh, wow!
And a couple of weeks ago I did this. Here I'm talking too much already. But
not at all.
No.
I did this podcast with how this whole with the Wayne Kramer thing, and then I don't know if you guys know who Lydia Lunch is.
Yes.
But Lydia Lunch contacted me and she wanted me to be on her podcast, and I was a little intimidated by Lydia Lunch when I was younger, even though she was a peer of me, a peer of us, and I never met Lydia, but so I did the podcast, but she wanted me. Do you have any stuff you've done? And so I put on this put on YouTube a song called "Come On Everybody" that I did this cover of a while back. So maybe that's what he's referring to. But if you want to listen to it on YouTube, it's on YouTube.
Rich, you remember when we did the photo shoot for Interview Magazine?
For what?
For Interview Magazine?
Yeah, Wes was there.
Yeah, I was there. Lydia Lunch was there. Yeah, she answered the door when I showed up for the photo shoot. She answered the door.
I didn't know you were talking. Sorry, Wes.
Yeah,
she answered the door.
She answered the door. Yeah, I was always a big fan of hers.
Well, I couldn't believe it because we did the podcast and she seemed to know everything about the band. I was shocked.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and actually, she was really nice. Actually,
yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Well, it's not out yet.
No, okay.
Maybe they don't want anybody to see.
I've heard some of her other podcasts. They're pretty good.
Yeah, the Lydia and Spin, but it should be coming out hopefully. But
Yeah, she answered the door. I remember going up to the door and saying, "I'm West Beach from the Plasmatics." She goes, "I'm Lydia Lunch." I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah, we did this photo shoot for Interview Magazine, like the Andy Warhol, we're here we are, we're making it, right? We thought we were big stars coming in Andy Warhol magazine, but they did a nice job actually.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice, super cool. Hell yeah, yeah, yeah. The thing that I was thinking of, it was this record that what came to me because I'm always watching like different Plasmatics, like stuff from like Outlaw Records that has like Man with the X-Ray Eyes on it and Blessed Name.
Yeah. Actually, I released that a while back.
Ah,
But actually, this song, "Come On Everybody," was on that Man
right.
with the X-Ray Eyes, and yeah.
There we go. I knew we would figure it out for sure.
Yeah.
Wes, Wes, how about yourself, my friend? Talk a little bit about what you've got going on right now.
Well, I'm always writing stuff. I play guitar all the time, and I'm trying to get my memoirs together while I can still remember what the hell happened.
Nice.
So I've been trying to do that, but it's just hard finding time to do everything. But still keeping active and rocking and rolling.
Absolutely, man, 100%. Psycho Steve, let's kick it up to you, brother.
Well, first of all, it is a true honor. Like I said before we started the show, thank you again, gentlemen, for joining us. I said that I saw you guys open up for Kiss in 1983. I was not over 9 when I saw you guys. So my first question is, how did the band form? Like, did you guys know each other prior, or like one member said, "Hey, I have a guitarist, I have a bass player," So how did the Plasmatics become the Plasmatics?
Yeah, Rich, I think that's your field there.
Yeah, the very early Plasmatics, to try to be very quick here, it goes back to 1977, and actually I talked to Lydia about this. It goes back to 1977, and I had a band at the time called Numbers, and we were trying to do. You got to look back to New York back then, in 1977, 1976, 1978, and there was nobody wanted to be a musician like today. First of all, I don't want to go on about this, but it was who wanted to be in a rock band. It's like today, everybody wants to be in a rock band. Everybody wants to play and stuff like that. And at the time, there was not too many places to play outside of CBGB's and Max's Kansas City. They were the two big places to play. And I had this band, and we were trying to, my goal at the time was to play CBGB's like a weekend or something like that. And it was hard to play, and blah, 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 blah. So I had this band, and we were doing these shows in these lofts, and because we couldn't play at CBGB's, I'm getting too detailed here, I think. But we had this drummer, and he knew this guy named Rod Swenson, and Rod Swenson was doing, was a manager up on 42nd Street, Show World Theater, which is, they had new, I don't know what you would call it, but there was a, I don't know what you would call it back then, but there was topless dancers and stuff, I guess. So he was the manager of Show World Theater, but at the same time he was making videos, and he was involved in, shooting Patti Smith and the Ramones and everything like that. So let me pull this together. So this drummer that I was playing with knew Rod, and there was a chance that he could manage. We were hoping maybe he'd be interested in managing a band. It's your typical story, you're a young band. I think it was like 23 or 24 at the time, and I thought this was it. I was ready to give it all up, and there was a chance that somebody would come to see our band, maybe manage a band. He was looking to manage a band. So to make the long story short, he wasn't really interested in the band. And I spoke to him, and he said, "Well, what I want to do is I don't want to manage a band anymore. I just want to start a band, and I need help starting a band. And if you could write the songs, start writing the songs, and help me put the band together. I'll write the songs with you, but I want Wendy to sing. And I never met Wendy, and that's kind of how the band started. It started very organically, and we started. So Rod was kind of came up with the idea of putting Wendy as the lead singer, and then we worked together, putting a band together. We got a drummer, we got a bass player, Jose Funahara. After about a year, we got brought in West Beach. We started playing CBGBs. A lot of it was like really hard work in the beginning. We did everything like poster, like Wes and I used to go like to Philadelphia and Boston to poster before we played. And the show I think the show sort of organically evolved. Like, I mean, the first show that we did was at CBGB's. I had like a kind of a David Bowie haircut. I mean, I came from upstate New York. I was listening to the Grateful Dead and at the same time listening to David Bowie, you know. But when I came to New York, I found like, whoa, there's all this like punk stuff happening, and you don't have to be Led Zeppelin. You could really be in a band. So that was sort of the inspiration behind the music. And I'll just this Wes, you could take it from here for a little bit. But when the first show we did, like I got up on stage, like I had, like I said, a shag haircut and everything, and all of a sudden Wendy had her top off, and we had this bass player that we brought in, this Japanese guy. He had a bald head, and he looked great, you know. And I just looked like, you know, I could be in the Allman Brothers maybe or something like that. So like, I said, I got to get with the program here, you know. But I also came, like I said, I also like Bowie, and I like the Mothers of Invention and all this crazy stuff too when I was younger. So the natural theatrical side of me was there too. And I think I remember calling my drummer up, and I think it was Stu, and say, you know, I saw De Niro on TV, and he had this mohawk on this show called Taxi Driver. I says, holy shit, man, I better get this haircut now because everybody's going to have it. And I got it, and it was like 10 years later that everybody had that haircut. But that's sort of how the thing is. And Wendy and Rod and the other members of the band were, you know, we were all having fun, you know, kind of. I think for me, the inspiration was sort of to kind of push people's buttons, and also it was kind of just crazy, you know, like just crazy without any too much thought. So anyway, that's how I sort of band started. If that made sense to you.
Absolutely, that's freaking awesome.
And then Wes joined, and got in on the fun, right?
Well, yeah, I auditioned. I answered an ad in the Village Voice. I was looking for the world's fastest rhythm guitar player. I answered it, showed up in that steamy loft in Lower Manhattan. And you know, Rich, a number of synchronistic events occurred before I joined the band. I don't know if I ever told you this story, but I was auditioning with a band for a singer in Manhattan, and your band was auditioning for. You remember that at all? Some singers, I didn't even remember what it was, but we were auditioning for them. And I remember looking into the rehearsal room, and I saw you in there, and I remembered you because, you know, you're this really tall guy, tall guitar player, and I remembered you. So then fast forward a few months later, and I went to this loft party down in Lower Manhattan, and lo and behold, you were sitting there at a table talking to Rod Swenson. And I vividly remember that because I remember seeing you auditioning for this band. And then fast forward, I'm rehearsing in a loft in Manhattan, and a friend of mine from high school was rehearsing his band across the hall from us. And after we were done, he's like, hey, you want to go down to CBGB's and see my aunt's boyfriend's band? They're playing. It's their first time they're playing. So I said, okay, what the hell? I'll go down. And it was the Plasmatics. It was the first time they were playing at CBGB's. And I was like, I didn't really care for the band at the time, but I thought Wendy was totally riveting. And Jose looked like he was the leader of the band. He just had, quite the look to him. So, and then a few months later, there was that ad in the Village Voice, and I called it up, and it was the Plasmatics. So it's kind of really strange twist of events that led me to the band. And I had to go
That's
back
cool as
actually
hell.
to audition. I had to audition 2 more times before they took me in the band. So that was pretty wild.
I think you might have told me that, but it's been like how many years? 40
Yeah,
years.
long time.
It's all a blur back to those things. Those days,
Absolutely. Well, we'll find our way to kind of maneuver through the haze a little bit, and the best way to do that is to bring in our shirtless wonder down there.
What? You gotta have the tape. Hell with that. So I gotta ask you guys, Tom Snyder, how the hell did all that come about? Look, look, a lot of our audience is huge Kiss fans. So the montage and that, love-hate relationship with you guys, Gene Simmons, everything. How did that come about? Was it shock and awe? Was it Wendy? Was it you guys? And Tom Snyder. I mean,
Well,
which was...
I think we were doing like we were just. It's like it was a snowball effect with the band. We were really. I hate to say this. I mean, we were playing a lot, and we were we caused a lot of stir. And that, created more demand. I don't want to sound like a financial person here, but that created a lot of more a lot more demand and interest. And we were not only playing just CBGBs and Max, well, in New York, we were playing out in Jersey and Long Island. And I think there was a lot of press on the band. And somewhere, I don't know how we got on Tom Snyder. I didn't book it. But the funny thing about Tom Snyder, though, is that we got there and we set up and we played, and I hadn't met Tom Snyder or anything. And we got on stage. It was like 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. And there's Tom Snyder right in front of us, sitting there with his legs crossed with some kind of, funny socks and kind of like a leather loafers and stuff like that. And he's just standing there, But we did Tom Snyder's twice, and we blew up a car. Wes, we only blew up the car once, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Famously, Tom Brokaw was doing the news upstairs when we blew the car up, and the smoke from the explosion went into the studio, and they had to clear out the studio. Yeah.
Well, now you would do it. They think it's a car bomb going off, somewhere. But your relationship with Kiss, how did all that, evolve and come about?
Well, we had just come off our album we recorded for Capitol Records, so they were pushing us, and they wanted us to do, an arena tour. And we were thinking bands like, AC/DC, Judas Priest, Ozzy. And I think there was talk about us playing with Ozzy, but Sharon kind of put the kibosh on that because she didn't want him fraternizing with Wendy. And, Kiss had done their Creatures tour, and they were trying to fill some seats because it wasn't selling too well. And I guess they contacted us to open for them and help fill some seats, which we did. And a lot of times we got better reviews than they did.
Nice.
And
so I got to
that's
ask real quick, the first time you seen, how was the introduction between you guys and Wendy? I mean, she's definitely a person that you can't contain in a bottle.
Well, I'll tell you, when I first met her, I like I said, I auditioned for the band 3 times. Wendy wasn't there anytime. And the first time I met her, I went up to their New York loft where we used to rehearse in Lower Manhattan. And I walk in, and they had a an old-fashioned bathtub right in the middle of the living room. And I walk in, there's Wendy in the bathtub, completely nude. She's like, "Hey, you must be Wes. I'm Wendy. How you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay. How are you?" And that was my introduction to Wendy right there.
Oh, you bastard.
Oh my God. I've been to bathhouses and I've never seen shit like that. But, I'm not. Rock and roll.
Yes, I thought I'm going to be in for a hell of a ride, and I sure
and
was.
you know what? You weren't joining the fucking, knack or anything else. So you think about it at that period of time, it wasn't Duran Duran. But
sure.
buckle up and hold on tight. Look, you guys have really made a fucking staple. There was nobody like you guys out there, and I love shock and awe. I love people who go out and make an impact. There's never been anybody like Wendy afterwards. A lot of people tried doing whatever and it kind of flopped. She was kind of the real deal. Did it scare the hell out of the two of you? I know you got some, kahunas, but seeing somebody like that, you go, what the fuck am I getting into?
It didn't scare me. I mean, Wendy was a total professional, and she was a great person to work with. I mean, she worked on her craft, and people wouldn't believe what she did behind the scenes. She was constantly practicing. She was constantly pushing us. She was constantly honing her craft. So, she was just like the consummate performer.
Well, you guys, I really got to say, the Plasmatics pushed punk to the outer edge, and it really did. She was definitely the female Iggy Pop of the time. If you think about it, of what was going on, she pushed the envelope so damn far, and it was like, okay, how's this going to be, accepted or taken? But it was.
For me, it was like we were all in it together, and like I just said, going back to what I said earlier, is like when I got up on stage for the first show, Wendy had taken, I turned around and nobody told me that she had taken her top off, and I was just playing guitar, and I felt like, well, I got to get with it here and make this, I got to contribute something if I'm going to be part of this,
Yeah.
And I think we had a lot of fun, and we were, at least for me, and you're not aware of what what it's doing or what everybody's thinking, and I wasn't hanging out with people. We were just doing it, and it was, like I said, there was a lot of work involved. It was serious, and it was a lot of fun. And Wendy was very, she was Wendy Williams, but we all were we were just part of the Plasmatics, and
my last part before Richie, before we go about a lot of things. Look, you guys broke out during the mid '80s, during the whole, and I don't want to go political, but it was Reagan, the AIDS period, everything. And was it a?
Well, it was the early. It was like the early '80s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was kind of that late '70s into the
Well,
early
but it was really that early period of Reaganomics. Everything was changing right there, and it was coming into the religiosity and all that bullshit. And Wendy came out, and it was kind of the big middle finger at the time. You guys were not the hair band. You weren't the '70s rockers. You guys really did something that was groundbreaking, that changed. Look, we had the Pretenders, you had your women in rock, and then you had Wendy O. Williams, who came out, and you guys, and it was like, whoa, this was like the new roller coaster that you had to either hold on tight or enjoy the ride and put the hands up or put the electrical tape on.
like what what I think is a good way to kind of piggyback off of that I would bring it back to kind of like, you know, the 70s style when you guys were talking about like honing your craft and things like that is one thing about the Plasmatics as a show. There was no show like that at that time at any stretch of the imagination. You did have, you know, you still had Gene Simmons, you know, blowing, you know, fire in the early years of Kiss, and you had other things like that. But as far as like the Plasmatics go, I mean, from the look to the performance, I mean, Wes, you know, you had, you know, short blonde hair at one point with your makeup, and then also at one point you had a look where it was much more like a metal guy with like gauntlets on your arms. And Richie, you had your various really elaborate outfits, whether it was like tutus or nurses' outfits, let alone with what Wendy was doing. But then the show itself was so much just destruction that you had mentioned before, like it caused interest, it caused demand, it caused wanting to book you guys. Take us back to just like both of you being in the band and when it really came to what you wanted to put together as a stage show, because it was around the time where it was much more of a, I'm using the word generic for other bands, but not as a fuck you to those other bands. It was like you had more just traditional performers when it came to the majority of bands out there. And then you guys were chainsawing things. You were blowing shit up. Wendy's all over the stage, down in the pit in the crowd. What was it about you guys talking amongst each other? Because I feel like you would have to discuss that about what you wanted to put forward as a show.
We just wanted to do the most extreme show that was possible at that time, and you know, it was the middle finger to America. You know, that's basically what it was. Wendy used to say she used to like to draw a line in the sand, and then we crossed over that line, and we did that constantly. Tried to push that envelope, and you know, the band was really threatening to a lot of people. Especially, you got to remember, this was pre-MTV.
Yeah,
so Middle America never saw anything like us.
Absolutely, for sure.
That's why they keep me on the show.
Nobody's ever seen someone like you, Bobby, for sure. Richie, how about yourself? What do you remember about those early shows and really putting that, you know, just that scary product forward?
Yeah, you know, I can. The way I see it, I mean, I think that's a good question, and I mean, I think Wendy and Wes and everybody in the band all have their different, you know, interpretations. I think it kind of melded with all of us. But like going back when I was telling you about like, oh, well, I'm going to get a mohawk haircut, you know? And then I realized, well, you know, that's, you know, I got to go farther on that, you know? And then I think I dyed my hair blue. And then, I don't know where the tutus and all that stuff came from, but I think that came from a conversation with Wendy. I can't remember I was thinking about this the other day. There was this movie with, well, anyway, there was this movie with a guy dressing up as a killer nurse, but it wasn't like, see, like back then, like in my way, like dressing in drag was kind of like Bowie or the Dolls or something like that. And like, that wasn't like my thing. It was kind of like, I want to be like a man that dresses like a nurse, you know, that's kind of like with the blue mohawk and everything. And once you create that, for me, once that character was created, it's like a character. It you know, it's a stage show. A lot of the band was more than just a rock band, and at least for me. And like going to me, it's like that. Once that character was created, and I created like, oh, he's got a mohawk, and now he's got a nurse outfit, and then what else could you do? Oh, well, why don't we try a French maid's outfit? And then that went to with a tutu, and then put the tutu on the nurse. And then as the band evolved musically, I mean, originally we were like kind of like this, I guess you might say more of a punk band, but I never thought of us as a punk band, actually. And I never thought of us as a metal band, actually, either. But we kind of we kind of moved that way. We progressed,
Yeah.
you know, like, okay, okay, we moved. We didn't stay static musically or visually. And I think, I think what we were saying in the beginning, at least what I think I was trying to say, whoops, something's on my phone there. Whoops, did I disappear? Hold on a second. Okay.
We can still hear you.
Still hear
There
you.
you go.
Okay. But I don't think it was like, oh, like there's some master plan here. It for me, it was just like chaos and craziness, and part of it was say fuck you, but also there was a wink in the eye, and it was like really loud music too. I mean, I just love loud music. I always have. I liked Blue Cheer. I liked the MC5. I just and I mean that's what that music was. It was really kind of dangerous music, and lost in the shuffle there. I think that was really great music.
Absolutely. No, 100%, man, for sure. And I love the fact that you guys, were down to talk about just putting that completely unique stage show forward at a time where that just straight up didn't exist. So thank you guys very much for that. Angel, let's kick it up to you, brother. How are you this evening? And how are the Metal Summoners and Weston Ritchie's fans doing?
Awesome. Everyone's sending out birthday wishes. We got Matt Porter, who wants to know, what was it like opening? I'm not sure if I think we covered this, but he wants to know, what was it like opening for, sorry, Wi-Fi. Because I said this week because damn Wi-Fi is slow. What was it like opening for Kiss, and what was it like working with Gene Simmons on the Wow album?
Well, I'll take the first part of that. I remember when we opened for Kiss. We started playing for Kiss, and these guys jumped up on stage. I think Wes was there. We were doing a sound check, and Paul and Gene came up, and they had all the long black hair and everything. And Gene came over and said, "Welcome aboard," So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, that was our first taste of arena rock, and I think myself personally, I learned a lot of playing to large crowds from watching them. We used to watch every show after we played. We'd watch Kiss's whole performance night after night, and just pick up tips on how to play to larger rooms. I thought that was pretty cool. It was like an education.
Yeah, Gene Simmons' bass solo was great live. I never saw Kiss before we played. Honestly, I wasn't a Kiss. I mean, I wasn't like a Kiss fan. Although I shouldn't say I wasn't a fan. I wasn't like part of the, like, I have friends that are like Kiss Army fans, but I was a fan from afar, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely. Me too.
Oh, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, get the hell out of here.
Well, I thought that was the best lineup Kiss ever had. I thought with Vinnie Vincent and Eric Carr. I mean, that was their heavy metal album, and that was their heaviest sound, and I thought they sounded great on that tour. And like Richie said, I wasn't really a big Kiss fan either until we played with them, and I started getting into them.
Sweet.
Absolutely.
We're gonna get down to Bruce. He wants to know, how did you end up on the SCTV with John Candy's character, the fishing musician?
I don't know. I think that was another case where they just called us up, wanted us to be on the show because we were garnering a lot of attention from the press, and we were the outrageous band of the moment, and they just wanted us on there, I guess.
Now I love doing that show. I mean, John Candy. It was actually, I love doing that show. I think we did a pretty good job on that show, and it was just great to work with John Candy, and I mean, I just love him. I love all those type of comedians, and I mean, I wish I could be a comedian like him, but I was glad to get on the show with him. was a great experience.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun out in Edmonton. We did that.
I remember we went to what was it, West? We were up in Edmonton, Canada. Like I haven't been to Edmonton. My wife's from Winnipeg, so but Edmonton, Canada. When I went there, it was like, holy God, you're there. Like if you feel like you could like 2 blocks or 3 blocks, you could walk out of the city, you'd be in like the tundra. You know, you feel like you're way. But I remember there was like a little cafeteria. Remember, Russ, where we had lunch, and all those, that guy that's in Schitt's Creek was eating lunch, Levy and stuff. They're all there in this room.
That's great.
And,
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
And like, I mean, the hell with touring with Kiss. To me, that was more exciting.
So, Richie, you brought up something fun. So you threw it out there. Schitt's Creek. What a great freaking show. How did you guys get hooked up with Levy? So, is there a interaction there that you brought that up?
No.
Damn it.
That's a great show. I with the COVID thing happening now, I watch. I used to be more selective of what I watch on TV, like we watch series and stuff. But now I'll watch anything.
I'll watch a dog getting spaded because really?
Yeah, I watch all these crazy series from like different countries and from Korea, from Brazil, and I just anyway, I don't want to talk about something like that, but that started around the beginning of this whole thing, right? So, but I've watched all of those.
Look, we all been locked down far enough. We're watching paint dry. It's like, oh my God! Look.
I know it's just ridiculous.
Absolutely, Angel. Let's bring it back to you, brother.
Yes, we got Christopher. He wants to know, how did the songwriting process work in the Plasmatics? Did you do it together? Did Rod Swenson write the lyrics? As I know, his name always appears.
I think Wes, you can. I'll just jump. I'll start this if you don't mind. Like usually, I mean, Rod wrote the lyrics. That's how it was. I mean, I think maybe like Butcher Baby, I was like, oh yeah, I put that in there. I mean, we'd work with Rod on how the lyrics should be sketched in or with a vocal line like that. And then Rod would work with Wendy. But usually the song came from Wes or myself or Jean Bouvard, Chris Romanelli. Like we'd come in with a riff or some kind of chord pattern, and then it would go back and forth with, sometimes within the band, and then it would be kicked off to Rod, and he'd see if he could work with Wendy, and then would come back. I think it was an iterative process within the band, but I would say it started with one of us, the people that played the guitars or bass, creating some kind of song, and then sketching in the vocals, and then back and forth, and then Wendy would take it.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. But it was very organic, I think.
But it was very structured, which was good. We kind of all knew what was going on. But then I've talked to a lot of other people in bands, and it's kind of like the same process, but maybe reversed or maybe different, and maybe more extreme or less extreme than us. But it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the answer to whoever was asking that question, yes, Rod Swenson was writing the lyrics and we'd be writing the music. I think that the credits on the song are fairly accurate. I mean, maybe one of us should have got more credit for writing the riffs and or something that, like maybe, I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna go to my question because it's around that with the songwriting, and my question is because during the course of time when you've written songs for so long, do you have any material that has been unreleased, either from your solo or from the band, that's in the vault somewhere that hasn't been released yet?
Oh, there's tons of stuff. We used to write songs like crazy, and many of them would get rejected. Rod would come in and say, "Oh, I hate that," or "That's terrible." But we were always writing. I think for one record, we had like 70 songs written. So there's a lot of stuff. There's just
Yeah,
tons of material.
a good example of that is that there was coup d'etat, and then there was the demo that's been released. I don't know what's called coup d'etat. I've actually never really listened to it intently.
Yeah.
But there was a demo of coup d'etat made before coup d'etat, and there was a song called Uniform Guards that's a totally fulfilled song, and that was not released on coup d'etat, and it would never been re-released, but it was released on this record. But there's stuff like that is, they're just not songs, but they're songs, but they were well rehearsed and figured out and recorded or made and demoed, but I don't know where they are. I don't have them. I don't have those demos. I don't have it. But that was released on the coup de, whatever it is, coup de, the demo version.
It's considered coup de grace.
Coup de grace,
is what they call it. The coup de grace album.
I'm glad I did not have to
coup de
pronounce
grace. Everybody always pronounces it wrong.
Trust me, I would have massacred
Tomato,
the
tomato.
pronunciation.
I had this big argument with my brother one time. My brother corrects me all the time on my English.
Hey, don't feel bad. Steve does the same thing.
Yeah. So but he's like very. I hope maybe he's listening. But my brother, he's so picky. He's like I'm not pronouncing something right. So we got in this thing one time about. I go, yeah, it's vice versa. So he goes, it's not Richard. You're embarrassing yourself. It's not vice versa. It's vice versa. Just two syllables instead of. I go vice versa.
Sounds like somebody so familiar.
Yeah. So what the hell? So I happen to have a very, very, good friend that's French in this neighborhood. There's a lot of French people in this neighborhood in Brooklyn where I live. So I say to my friend who I call, I forgot what his name was. And I said, how do you say vice versa? And he goes, is it vice versa or vice versa?
Oh, wait,
and he goes,
sorry.
it's vice versa in Paris. And so everybody pronounces it differently, vice versa. But he does it with three syllables. But I think the British do it with, I don't know. But my brother drove me nuts. He drives me nuts with this. So if you pronounce it coup d'etat, who cares? Or pronounce it wrong. We can never pronounce it correct because they're not French. It's Paris, right? It's not Paris.
Absolutely. Well,
It's
Steve,
Kiev. What is it now? It's not Kiev. It's Kev or something. We're going to attack. We're going to bomb.
For sure. Absolutely. Angel, I saw a question pop up, but do we want to cover that right quick?
Yeah. Hold on, let me bring it up. It's questions from Michael, and again, if it can be discussed, it's fine. If not, we understand and respect to Wendy. Can you talk a little bit about why Wendy stepped out of the music biz, and was there any talk before her death of reviving the Plasmatics?
Reviving the plasma after her death?
Before. Was there any talks before her death of reviving the Plasmatics?
Well, for me, there was. I mean, Rod and Wendy, You know, the last time I saw Rod and Wendy was, I think, 1999. Well, no, last time I saw Wendy, I should say, was 1999, 1991. And I had a band and I was opening for the Ramones. And this story is kind of boring, but Joey Ramone, I was opening for Joey, the band, and Joey said to me, he said, why don't you get Wendy to come sing with you? And so she came up and did a song with my band. It was Master Plan, and I talked to Rod and Wendy. And I think shortly after that, they approached me about wanting to do maybe doing something. And I think Wendy wanted to do like something like that, but life changes. I had gone back to school, and I was busy, and I couldn't like just donate. Contribute tons of time like I used to, but I could, and it just never quite worked out. And that was like 1999, 1991, and then she shot herself, and I don't know what year, 98, 97, I forgot. But during that time, I don't know what happened, and but there was, at least I think Wes, we talked about it, I think there was some interest in doing something, not like a total reunion, like play everywhere, but like 4 or 5 shows, and I was up for it.
For sure.
I don't know. It never happened.
Hey, Wes, can I throw this out right now? And look, it's a little dark and everything. Richie brought it up. When Wendy took her own life, how did you guys react to that? I mean, what was, the initial feeling? Were you angry? Were you pissed? Were you like, what the fuck?
It was just total. It was really total shock to me. I mean, I didn't really see it coming, and I was just devastated when I heard about it. I was at work, and Rod called me up, and he told me, he said, you wanted to tell me before, anybody else told me, or I heard it's from somewhere else, and it was just, I was heartbroken.
So I'm going to bring this up to you guys. Look, I'm a guy who dealt with depression, everything else, and I went through that route. And I know when things take you through a dark hole and you feel like tunnel vision, everything blocks out, and you're just like, fuck it. Did you guys see a warning sign?
No, I didn't.
Like I said, I hadn't talked to Wendy since 1990. What year did she die, Wes?
I think it was 96, 97, something like that.
I had no interaction with Wendy, and actually I had nothing to do with her after probably 1983. After coup d'etat, I was a little bit involved in the Wow album, but I didn't. I wrote songs on the Wow album, but I didn't record on it. I didn't support it. I decided on. I didn't play.
Yeah.
In the band to go on tour and everything. So I stopped. I didn't see Wendy since 1983. So I think I should have said that. And then I saw her briefly in 1990 or 1991, and then that was it. I had nothing to do with it. So I had no understanding of why she shot herself.
Sure.
It was horrible. But
and I just want to ask you guys on that. How did it? It's a little fucked up, but how did it impact you? I mean, I know you haven't talked to her, but she was a part of your life. But how did that affect both of you?
Well, it's like recently I just had a friend of mine that I found out in the neighborhood who was a great guy, and he was like 46 years old. And he passed away, and it was a big shock to me, and it was a surprise. And we've all dealt with that with death.
Yeah.
We're all grown ups now, and as you get older, you deal with it more, and it's just a horrible feeling. It's an empty feeling, and the way I found out about Wendy dying was, I mean, a friend of mine called me when I got back from work. I was working a late shift, and I got back around 11:30, and somebody called me. And then all of a sudden, the phone started calling, and it was like, CBS Radio asking my opinion. I was like, what? But I think it was just a hollow feeling for a while, just like I was saying, when somebody dies, you have that. But what I wanted to say, added to the fact that this is someone that I knew, that I worked with.
Yeah.
And it kind of didn't make any sense why she would do this. I talked to Rob later on about this, and I got sort of I guess she was going through some issues up there. They were living in Connecticut, sort of far removed from New York. But I for me personally, it was an empty, hard feeling, and like you realize you're not going to see that person anymore, and even though my life had moved on, I was not really.
Look, we lost a lot of great people over the last couple of years, and around Robin Williams, we lost Chris Cornell. We lost Chester Bennington from Lincoln Park, and it is one of those things, and everybody talks about them, but they never talk about bandmates or former bandmates and this and that. I don't care if it was the day you worked with them or whatever, but it has to be an impact, because you guys were part of that. You made Wendy what she was, whether it was 30 years ago or whatever. You were part of that history of that. And it was like, wow. Part of you go, fuck, why didn't she reach out to me? Even though it was 20 years, if you're hurting, and I understand depression, and that goes deep, but it's like, you guys have to feel a little bit of anger, feeling like, you're a little bit slated, like, you trusted me enough to do the album, but you didn't trust me enough with your life on this end.
Well, I don't know if
I'm just going deep. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, I mean, she was a private person. For me, at least, she was a private person. She made her choices to do. Like, she moved up to Connecticut. She moved away from. I mean, I live in New York. She moved from New York. I know that some people wanted maybe her to do some stuff, but I know I don't think she ever. I know she didn't act on some of that stuff, and it just, it's out. I mean, it's just, it's sad. It's sad, because now, like, when somebody dies like that, even though I would say my relationship was like a working relationship with a person in the band. It wasn't like she came over to my house and we were hanging out.
Well, I know that.
Stuff. But, when that person dies, that memory is gone. And the memory that I have of her, I can't reinforce it. I can't say, hey, did that happen? Because I don't know. So it would be nice. It would be nice if she was still around. It'd be great,
Well, I got to say, both of you two, Wes and Richie, look, you got to be extremely proud of what you did in the musical realm and what you did for a lot. Look, give yourself credit that you were part of that scene, and extremely relevant with all of us here. That's why we wanted to have you guys on.
Well, thank you. And I'll speak. I think I can speak for Wes. Is that we were definitely very proud of it. It's followed me through my life. I can go. I was about. I mean, I think I said this. I mean, I don't know where the hell I am, and I'm not kidding you. I was like in some weird bar in Ireland, in the west coast of Ireland, about 8 years ago, and we're having a couple pints, you know, in the afternoon with these guys, and they said, "Let's go out and smoke some cigarettes and stuff." I don't smoke, but I went out with them anyway. We're smoking cigarettes, and then we ended up talking. And he's he was like knew all about the Plasmatics in this little tiny town, you know, in Ireland that really is not a rock town, and it's just great, you know. It's a nice thing, you know, to be able to experience that, you know. And that story's not just in Ireland, but it's in this neighborhood here. Some people think like they all kind of know the Plasmatics. They might not know it exactly. I live in an Italian neighborhood here, these old timers and stuff.
I live in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. People know who the hell you guys are, and the excitement. It was shock and awe. You guys really made an impact, and whether you were in the band for 5 minutes or whatever, it was that thing that was just like, what the fuck? Look, we all remember when the Sex Pistols did God Save the Queen on TV. And, you know, when I was in 7th grade and going, what the fuck is this? Think about it. You know, the band changed so many times, but we all know, but you guys were there at that infantile, you know, stage of the band. So
yeah,
nobody will ever take that from you.
Not at all. Absolutely.
Sure. I got a pretty. Oh, sorry. No. Just a good question. Sorry. I was going to ask a question from Ellen.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
That's my mother. Angel, that's my mom.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
see, so you cut off your mom to go to Steve.
So we got to get your mom to sing "Happy Birthday." I got Desmond to do it before.
Sorry, Angel. Go ahead.
See, that's a shame that you would. No, I'm just playing. Sorry.
Love you, Mom.
Hey, and I got to apologize to your mom. Jay's mom, I'm sorry. I have a Mickey on my belly. I'm just sorry.
Can I ask Jay's mom's question?
Go ahead, Angel.
Is there a musical influence you have that would surprise people?
Well, for me, I'm a big fan of surf music, like Jan and Dean and the Beach Boys and that kind of 60s hot rod and surf music. Always really liked that.
Richie, how about yourself, brother? Do you have any musical influence that would probably surprise people? You had mentioned the Grateful Dead earlier.
Oh yeah, I love. When I was in high school, I was torn between the San Francisco sound and well, actually, Blue Cheer was part of that, and Blue Cheer, and of course, I like Jimi Hendrix and stuff. But you know, a big thing that I love is I'm very select here. I'm not an expert, but I love Albert King, and I'll tell you a quick story about. I don't know if you know who Albert King is, right?
Yeah.
He's this he's left-handed blues guy. He's huge. He's like as big as me, but bigger. You know, he's like a thing, and he plays the guitar backwards. I mean, he doesn't restring like I do, and when he plays, it's all sleight of hand. You don't know what the hell's going on because he plays backwards, and his fingers are just freaking like sausages, and he bends the guitar. If you play guitar, his whole sound is not bending up; it's pulling down. And he has this sonic sound that has this lots of space and feeling and stuff. And you go see him, you're crying, you're laughing, and he's always not feeling well halfway through the show, you know. And he smokes a pipe. He's got his own, what do you call it, smoke machine going on. You know what I mean? And he's always breaking a string, and you think something's wrong, and he's not feeling good, and he tells you to come back tomorrow night. So I want to tell you, so one time I loved him so much when I came down to New York, right? I said, no, if you want to be a musician, try this one. So I was like, this was before the Plasmatics, and I wanted to be a blues guitar player, or I came down to be a jazz guitar player. It was too hard. So I said, well, maybe I'll do the blues,
Just play wrong and you're a jazz player.
No, but that's a good surprise.
Just get all the bad notes.
So I called up Albert King's manager, right? And I'm like 19 years old at this time. And I says, hey, yeah, I want to do an interview with Albert King, from some paper. And he said, well, yeah, sure. Go up to the Roosevelt Hotel, room, something like that. So I go up there, right? I knock on the door, and there he is in real freaking life, Albert King. And I sit down on the bed, and he says, yeah, tell me about it, young man, and stuff like that, And I said, Mr. King, I'm very sorry. I'm not here for the interview. I just want to, play in your band. Then he was like, well, you're not going to have any problem getting the band with this type of attitude. You're doing a good thing coming here. Then we talked for a little bit. He said, well, let me just get somebody on the phone here. He's looking for a guitar player, and it's Bobby Bluebland. I don't know if you know who Bobby Bluebland is. I'm talking to Bobby Bluebland. Now I'm in trouble. It's like a Seinfeld episode because I'm like, gee, I don't know how to put, And so he said, well, give me a call. You come out to Chicago for an audition. I never did that. But and I never. Albert told me that he doesn't have a band. They've rented him. But many years later, I got a chance to meet Albert King. I think, Wes, you were there in Washington, D.C. Right. We were having breakfast at this hotel, and I met Albert again. But I saw him play. So anyway, so I love Albert King. That's who I love.
Cool.
That's awesome. That's super duper cool. Angel, let's hold the next series of questions so we come back around, buddy, because I want to bring the real Psycho Steve back in.
So my question is, and it's a two-part question. If Wendy was still with us, do you think there would have ever been a chance of reuniting? And then also, since she's not with us, who do you think could fill her shoes today with the four of you guys still together?
I don't think anybody could fill her shoes. There's not another Wendy. There'll never be another Wendy, and you just can see it. You can see all the ones who try and emulate her, and they just fall far short because she was the real deal.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, do you guys think any chance of, if she was still with us, reuniting?
Oh, probably. I would think so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. So I was kind of curious on something that I always thought was very cool, is that Wendy had a pretty well-known duet that she did with Lemmy that was very, very cool. Yeah. And there was always this kind of like story about how that duet kind of broke up the original version of Motorhead. What did you guys think about that kind of branching off and like her working with like somebody like Lemmy, and did you guys have any kind of personal relationship with him yourselves?
Well, Wes and I were there when they recorded that song.
Mm-hmm. Like at the studio?
Oh yeah, we recorded on it.
We recorded it up in Toronto.
Oh, cool.
Yep, it was a disaster. I mean,
oh really?
Yeah. We were supposed to rehearse with them and go over the songs, and they showed up. They had just done some dates, and they were jet lagged and out of it, and they just didn't even bother. They just showed up at the rehearsal room, but they didn't play, and we basically taught them the song in the studio, and we recorded in Canada. Oh, and it almost didn't happen because they didn't know it, and they were a total mess. And there had been some friction between Fast Eddie and Motorhead before that. Right. I think that was just kind of the icing on the cake that broke them up. But,
I got you for sure. And one thing that I also wanted to ask you guys that I just think would be kind of cool, because in the last segment, we were it was pretty heavy and it was pretty tough. What would some of you guys say were like some of your fondest memories of Wendy's, like funny stories, things from the loft or rehearsal or tour? So I did an interview a few years back with Greg Smith from Ted Nugent's band and from you guys. And we did parts of the interview where we talked about his time working with Wendy and the Plasmatics, and he was saying, he's like, oh, she was, he had such great things to say. He was telling a funny story about he doesn't know how he did it. He was like trying to kick up his bass, like really cool, and all he did was kick it up into his own face and put a huge like gash on his forehead. And he really wanted to go out with everybody that night because they had all had plans to go to the Village out in New York. He's like, I want to go have a good time, and she's like, no, dude, like I'm gonna take you and bandage up your fucking bleeding head, then we can go out and have a good time. But anyway, what were some of your guys' like fondest memories, funny stories, or things that you remember when it comes to Wendy on the lighter side?
Well, Wendy was great. She was almost like an older sister, or she was almost like the band mother. She'd make sure that we always had the proper foods and beverages after the show. And she would even bring girls around backstage and say, "Hey, you want to meet so and so?" And she was really cool. I mean, she was just a great person, and I really miss her every day.
That's awesome, man, for sure. Richie, any fondest memories that you can remember, or funny stories that just kind of pop?
Banana milkshakes. I didn't know too much about health food and stuff like that. I love to cook. Okay, I just try to cook. I know it's a new thing now, all the foodies and everything like that. But I always like to cook and stuff. And she got me in on the banana milkshakes, hummus. I never freaking knew what hummus was, But I know I have some funny stories, but I can't think of it.
Sure.
One time she got really mad at me. I think the only time we ever actually had a fight, she likes. Oh, here's a funny story. I'll tell you the fight after this. We used to blow these speakers up, and she had a shotgun, and she pointed at the speakers, and the pyro guy would blow up the speakers. Pyro Pete, that's another story. And she missed, and she shot me in the leg, I still got like a scar in my leg here, like I can't show it to you right now. It's a big red scar. It's like a blank. But one time, I don't know what happened. We did this thing where we knocked the amps over at the end and stuff, and I don't know when we got our. The band was like professional. The band was like wrestling in a way. Like I have a friend, Mike Petinato. If he's out there, Mike, hey, how's it going? But Mike said, I don't even know when he first came to see us, he was like, I didn't even know what to expect. And then I see you guys rolling around and there's shit coming down. And he says, it's like freaking wrestling. He says, it's like you're staging it, but it's real. Something bad could happen. So once in a while, something bad did happen. I mean, like cut yourself or hurt yourself, your TV glass. And so anyway, going back to the story about the amps, I knocked the amps off, but I think Wendy was cutting across the wrong side of the stage, and they all landed on top of her. And and she got kind of banged up a bit, And we went backstage, and she started hitting me and stuff, and I think I had tears in my eyes. I felt kind of bad and stuff, I said, I'm sorry and stuff, but we made up and everything like that. I think she had a photo shoot the next day, kind of screwed it up, but everything was cool. We were cool.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Right on. Angel, let's kick it up to you, brother. Any new questions from the fans or a question from yourself?
Definitely got to cover a question from Candy.
Cool.
She's from Canada, guys.
Canada?
Yeah, we got to talk slower. Or add an A.
A?
This always happens when I'm going to get to Candy's question.
We're in Canada.
Toronto.
They think they're American. It's like a bad
baseball team sucks. Just saying.
Shoot.
No, just waiting.
Oh, sorry.
Just own it, Angel. It's all you, bro.
Oh, can you talk? Oh, Richie, can you talk about being edited out of the coup d'etat after your departure from the band? I know I messed up the name.
Oh, that's okay. That's always a loaded question. What happened at my departure, or after? You want to know what happened after coup d'état?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what she's asking. Is like
You were edited out. You were taken out. How was your, reaction to that?
Oh, edited out of the band.
Or I guess, were you in the recordings? Did they pull you out, or did they not use you during that whole period?
On what?
There's here I got this. There's story. What she's asking is there's stories of after your departure being edited out of like music videos.
Yes.
Involved with like coup d'etat. That's what she's asking. Is that something that you can speak about?
Yeah, I think it's fucked up. And the people that did it should be fucking ashamed of themselves. Okay.
Yeah. Why would they fucking do something like
That's
that?
how I feel it. It I don't know what the fuck's wrong with everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't know who did it, but it's not right.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's always been a believer of mine. Like is like you can't be fucking with people's history.
No, I got to come down strong on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in the band, and to take me out, if you don't want me, you can't do that. You just can't do that. And I think you'd find it very hard to find a similar situation. And I'd rather not even go there. I think
that's fine.
That's fine.
But
you're
and there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
But
no, you're
it
totally
doesn't really
fine.
matter because I'm the one that can sleep at night.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, we totally understand, Richie, for sure. Absolutely. Angel, let's jump right to our next one, bud.
My question is, what are your future plans? I know with touring, things are touch and go right now, but any plans to do any type of shows or collaborations with anybody?
Okay. I'm talking too much again,
No.
But,
No.
like what happened? Like for me, and I love the Plasmatics and all the fans out there and the people that follow the band. That's great, and I think we had a great thing. And this is, but for me, like I made a career choice, or what I mean, career choice, or I should say a change in my life, like way back in 1990, and I went back to school, and I'm not going to say I'm not a musician anymore, but I went back to school. I wanted to become a high school teacher, and I wanted to do something different with my life, and I ended up getting a master's degree in geology. I went out to Indiana, and I just loved it. I found like, oh wow, look, you can be the chemistry professor. I used to hate chemistry, and then I found out like, wow, this is really exciting, And I found like there's a whole other world out there that can be also exciting. It wasn't something that came naturally to me, but there's a part of me that likes that. So I went on to do that, and then I ended up getting into programming, and I was, for the last 20 years, I've been a programmer in the financial industry for, the Federal Reserve and JP Morgan and all this type of stuff. And I'm not doing that anymore now. I felt like I've had enough of it, and I'm kind of like, I'm done. So during that time, I wasn't doing a lot of music. You know what I mean? I did this album that I mentioned in the beginning that we were talking about. I released I can't pronounce this word, but I recorded. I had a song that I did with Joey Ramone called "Rock and Roll's the Answer," and we released a single, and that was released about 10 years ago. And like I recorded a song with Joey with the vocals, and then we kept the vocals, then we rebuilt the tracks, and I've been writing some song. I've written songs with Carla Lothar, and they're totally different than anything I ever did. It's on an audiophile record, and it's all kind of acoustic stuff and recorded live. And the musicianships of the musicians on there are just freaking great. And so I've done stuff like that, and I think maybe what the question is, like, what do I want to do now? We'll see. I mean, I'm doing this Wayne Kramer thing, which is a lot of fun, but I want to do something, but I got to be realistic. I mean, I think I'm not going to be able to run around the stage and stand on my head and twirl around in a tutu anymore. But that sound is still there in my head, like we were talking about loud guitars. That's still there, but I'll probably kill myself if I kept doing that. So that's what that's where I'm at now.
Nice. Absolutely, for sure. And Wes, how about yourself, man? Like for stuff that's going on like right now, we talked about as the intro what you guys were up to. But is writing music, still playing? Is that kind of been still your dominant focus, or are there other little avenues that you've gone down over recent years?
Well, I was in a band called the Shock Therapy for a number of years after the Plasmatics, and we were big over in Germany, toured Germany a few times, put out a bunch of albums. There was another tragic story with the singer who he kind of went down a dark path, and he eventually died of a drug overdose. And also the bass player in the band died of a drug overdose, so survived all of that. But I still write music for myself. I mostly play for my own enjoyment these days. But I'm like Rich, the power of a loud guitar just is incredible. And I've been buying a bunch of guitars and doing a lot of experimental stuff. I just got a 9-string guitar, which is pretty insane.
Nice.
Hey,
So
Wes,
it's,
real quick, what about the Halloween album that you did, Victim of the Night, back in 2012? You did a song on there, Victim of the Night. And, Come and Get It. You did
come and
additional-
get. It was an credited thing. I was actually slated to work as a producer for them, but that didn't work out. So I ended up playing with them on that track and just kind of an uncredited rhythm guitar part. And
they're
a
out
really
of the
cool
Detroit
band.
area, correct?
Right, out of Detroit. Yeah, that was kind of cool.
How did all that come about?
Well, when I moved out to Detroit in '86 just to get out of the rat race in New York, and I was kind of burnt out from the Plasmatics, I left the band briefly for about 6 months, and I went to see a lot of bands in Detroit, and I saw them, and I liked them, and started kind of a friendship with them. Like I said, I was going to produce them, but that just didn't really work out. So they asked me if I wanted to play on a track with them, and I did. It was kind of cool. Came out pretty good.
Nice.
So
That's
it's Halloween, not Halloween. So if anybody
Right,
wants
Halloween.
to check,
Right,
it's Halloween.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Halloween, the heavy metal horror show.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, Wes, you mentioned getting the new 9-string guitar, and myself and Bobby are really big gear nerds in general. So I gotta jump in real quick to get us started on talking a little bit about gear. And of course, Richie, you're absolutely involved as well. But Wes, the one thing I wanted to start off was talking to you about your Sardonyx guitar that you played, because a lot of heavy hitters played that type of guitar. Do you still have it? And what drew you to play it? I
do still have it. Well, with the Plasmatics, I always was looking for something that was way out there and kind of different. And I happened to see a article about that guitar in Guitar Player magazine. So the guy who built it is from New York. He was actually in Brooklyn, and I got a hold of him and talked to him, and I went up to his workshop, and it was a pretty interesting story. He was really big into restoring old pre-war Martin guitars, and for some reason he just built this really futuristic guitar that was really wild. So I bought one from him, and it was really cool. I used it quite a bit on the first album. I used it in the first couple tours, and we did a show in Santa Monica, and this punk guy came on stage and slammed into me, snapped the headstock. So I kind of pissed me off. I took it back to the guy, and he repaired it. But after that, I retired it and I kind of put it
Hey,
away.
Wes,
But I
the
still
really
have it.
the cool thing about the sardonyx, and I don't know if Jay knows about this, Lennon used it on Double Fantasy, and Ian Hunter used it.
Right. Ian
And the
Hunter,
other cool thing was, Howard Leese.
Howard Leese, right.
Yeah, during Heart. So you guys were like, but then I heard, they tried to present it to Kurt Cobain at one time.
I don't know. I never heard that. But supposedly they only made like 15 of them.
Yeah.
So
it was like, and if anybody finds them, they're like, it's like finding the golden fleece right now.
Right. And it was funny. Every time I would take it in to get fixed or have it adjusted, the guy would put on another switch. Like he put on these phase switches, all kinds of stuff. It was pretty wild.
Well, it was also because Ernie Bailey, who was Kurt Cobain's guitar technician, like he started actually making his own guitars based off of the sardonyx kind of model. So I'll admit, I can't personally picture Kurt Cobain playing that kind of looking guitar where it almost kind of looks like part of like a helicopter with like the blades and everything. I was like,
and it was kind of funny seeing that, Jay, like that. I kept looking at it going, you could almost play Star Wars on the damn thing. And, it looks like a TIE fighter or whatever. I'm like going, but it's such a badass looking guitar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's cool guitar. Yeah. I really, really liked it. I remember when we did the Solid Gold, the guy was warming up the crowd, goes, hey, what are you playing, a chair?
And Richie, how about yourself, man? Because I mean, you notably played like a lot of like a lot of V's, and you play a lot of different guitars too.
There's one behind him. I just see the head of it.
Yeah. There's like
what?
I got them back here. I put them back there as props. You know what I mean? But no, I'm a lefty. So the old days, a left-handed guitar player, there wasn't many choices.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons going way back to our conversations in the beginning was like I was playing a Les Paul upside down, which is a pain in the ass because you can't, the cutaway is all messed up and the knobs and everything.
Yeah.
But when we were starting to play in the band, I said Flying V just because it's light. And it's also symmetrical, so I could switch it over. So I'm always my own guitar tech, I kind of, whatever you want to call it.
For sure.
Hey, I got to throw this out real quick.
What?
So, Wes, on Reverb right now, that fucking sardonyx is going for $25,000.
There you go, Wes.
Wow.
Is that right? There's one on there?
I'm like sitting here.
I have to check it out. I never saw one on there.
I just went on right now. $25,000. I'm like going,
nice.
Oh my God.
Solid.
That's wild.
That's just fucking crazy. I'm like,
that is a crazy.
If you still have that thing, I'm like going, wow, that.
That's a crazy number for sure. So, fans, I do want to let you guys know that we do have the guys, we do have Wes, and we do have Richie for a little bit more time. But, however, it is last call for alcohol, guys. So, get your final questions, any comments, anything that you want to say to Wes and Richie, get them into the comments now. This is definitely going to be your time to do it. I actually see a question has popped up. So, Angel, why don't you pick it up? But, fans, last call for alcohol.
It's actually a comment from your mom. Richie,
Oh,
a
yeah.
singer-songwriter of
She
mine,
didn't even
passed.
say happy birthday
I
to
see
you,
the
Jay.
question now.
Happy
Hold on a second, Bobby. Angel.
Yeah. Richie, a singer-songwriter of mine, passed away in December. Bill Staines, he was a lefty and played upside down and backwards because when he learned, he didn't know he could restring the guitar. It was
Right.
an amazing thing to see.
That's great. There's a lot of like Albert King didn't restring. I think Jimi Hendrix did. Jimi Hendrix did. Kurt Cobain he didn't he restrung. But there's a lot of lefties out there. Paul McCartney restrung, but a lot of those blues guys didn't restring. Some of those old blues guys, and they're great. Now here's a good one though. So I'm sorry about your friend, and that's great. There's actually righty guitar. There's actually lefty guitar players. There's people that are left-handed that play righty though, you know, that don't they just play. Nor they play right-handed guitars lefty. Anyway, Mike Bloomfield is one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really that interesting.
That is really interesting.
Oh, that is really interesting. I love that kind of stuff.
And then there's the nuts, right? I won't. I have a friend. His name is Mark Bosch, right? I mean, he's really a fucking good guitar player, and he's friends with Elliot Easton, who's a lefty.
Yeah.
And Mark Bosch is a great Jimi Hendrix player, and he gets Mark Bosch's guitars and plays them. He's got the headstock and he plays it. He gets it all. He's got the Hendrix guitar, so it's for a righty. So something with the headstock and the long string. I don't know. These guys are nuts. I mean, they're really good guitar players, but I don't know. What I wanted to say as a left-handed guitar player, I don't get a choice to play too many guitars. So it's been the Flying V's. And the last 10 years or 15 years, I went out and bought 3 guitars, brand new. A Les Paul, lefty, a Stratocaster, lefty, and I bought an acoustic J something Gibson, lefty. And I just said, the hell with it, I'm going to get these guitars and have them because I never get to play these guitars, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. For sure, man. Definitely. Bobby, I'll kick it right back over to you, man, because I kind of put the halt on you for a second, so Angel can get that out.
No biggie. So I'm going to throw this out. A good friend of ours and first timer to the Metal Summit. Love this guy to death. Gary Spatola from New Jersey. So Gary's seen you guys at City Gardens.
City Gardens.
Oh my God, everybody rocked down there. So you guys played back in the 90s and in the 80s, 1980. And in 1982, you played Valentine's Day at Emerald City.
Emerald?
Yeah, it's up there. And Gary was like, oh my God, you got to let him know I seen him at Emerald City, which Emerald City's got a large thing. It was a gay bar. It was Gadsby's back in one day. They went Emerald City where they did this, tried to go after Studio 54, the whole Ian Schrager thing. And then you guys went in. But you played there, the Ramones, the Cramps, you name it, everybody's played there. And do you have any memories of those days?
I was Steve Stevens there or something, Wes? I don't know.
Well, City Gardens was Trenton, and Emerald City.
But Emerald City or Emerald Isle or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I remember Emerald City. Emerald City was always fun.
Yeah, it was the big room back then, and everybody. Yeah, geez.
What's your friend's name, Gary?
Cool.
Gary Spatola.
What?
Gary Spatola.
Well, shout out to Gary, okay?
So I got to tell you right now, some of the bands that were playing there at the times when you guys were there were, oh crap, like I said, the Cramps. It was the Damned. It was
Misfits.
The Cure in 1980. James Brown in March of 1980. Ramones, the Jam. Prince played there in. Wow, he played the same day you guys did. Joe Jackson, XTC, the Buzzcocks, Talking Heads, B-52s, David Johansen, The Time. Good company.
Yeah, that was the place to play at the time, Emerald City. I remember it. Yeah, it was cool.
And JJ
I think we
Cale.
blew up a car there. If I don't.
Bow Wow Wow. You know, wow. Think about that, man. These fucking bands back then. What a period to live in.
Dude, absolutely, man, for sure.
So
Psycho
that's-
Steve. Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead, Bobby.
No, that's what I was just saying. So Gary threw those out and was just taking you back on memory lane on that end.
City Gardens is in Trenton, right?
Yeah, City Gardens was Trenton. Was the big Ramones place. Oh my God.
Yeah, Trenton. I like that name, Trenton.
Well, there's no Trenton. It's Trenton.
Well, let's. Steve, is that a fact? You probably have something to say about that. Is that
I'm
Trenton?
not from Trenton. I'm from freaking
Trenton.
Jersey.
But you're always correcting
I
us.
never said that you were from Trenton, but you're probably going to understand.
Yes, toughly. That's Trenton makes where the world takes.
Of course.
No, that's an actual saying.
Right on the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and also pork roll, or some people call it Taylor ham.
No, that's if you're North Jersey. That's bullshit. It's Taylor pork roll. We have grapple.
All right, you're fired, Bobby. Whatever.
I don't know what the hell you
Go
guys
ahead,
are
Steve,
talking
'cause
about.
it's all
Don't
you,
make
brother.
me take my nipple tape
Is
off.
that where Washington crossed the Delaware, Trenton?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Because I have a cousin, right? And he's a New York City detective up here. And he's always trying to get me to go down to this thing where you cross the river in like December or something, like
Right.
a reenactment. And I'm like, nah. No.
Washington's Crossing.
Yeah, I just, I think that's great that Washington did this thing, but I just don't want to go down and cross the river in the winter or something,
I want to
But he's
live.
always bringing it up to me, He loves Judas Priest and Ozzy. I went with him. Listen to this. He's a detective, right? And this is a whole nother story,
Hey, no problem. We love these
Yeah, I
stories.
won't go down this road. Well, actually, my family had my step. Well, so anyway, we went to see. He says, "I got tickets for Ozzy," and I don't know where it was. Out, they know where they have live concerts. Like it's a big show out in New Jersey and stuff.
The
PNC Art Center. It used to be called the Garden State Art.
So
Tweeter
we
Center.
go to this thing, and I'm with all his friends. I mean, like these guys are now they're like going to their first concert, and they had all this beer in the car, So I'm like, man, maybe we shouldn't be drinking in the car or whatever. So we get there and we're like tailgating. I said, let's get inside, get our seats. I want to go see the seat. So they're drinking beer and stuff. And so I had a couple of beers, and guess what? The police come and they started giving me a hard time. Like they pull me over and says, you have an open beer. And these guys are standing there right there. It was like, summertime or something. And like, they didn't get in trouble at all. They yelled at me. Nothing bad happened, but I'm like, like 60, it's like a couple of years ago. I'm like in my 60s and the police are giving me a hard time. Anyway.
Come on, Daddy. Why are you drinking the beer from the little
No,
youngin?
I'm trying to tell them to keep it down. Let's go inside. I'm like the adult, But anyway.
Well, that's what Jay and these guys say to me. Bob, why do you have, to do?
No, we.
Yeah, we do.
I don't
Yeah,
want to play.
Yeah.
I've
I'm trying
hit
to make
Bobby
some-
with his bad Bobby plenty of times. So,
That's why I keep
Um,
dyeing my hair.
Papa Steve, let's bring you back in, brother.
So, question is, with all the bands that you did tour with Kiss and the other bands, is there any band that you regret going on tour with?
Regret going on tour? No, not really. I don't think. No.
Well, the only band we actually went on tour with when I was playing was Kiss. Before that, we were like kind of like the main part of the show, you know. And I mean, well, wait a second, that's not quite true. We had some bands that would open up for us, like we had the Rattlers, and Mickey Lee was Joey Ramone's brother. We had some other bands which I can't quite remember now, but no, I never regretted any bands. But no, they were all great.
Cool.
Nice.
I don't know if they were all great. We used to call some of our opening bands the shit tones because they were so bad. Remember that?
I don't remember saying that.
It's like, hey, how are the shit tones tonight? Oh yeah, that's terrible.
I was not part of those conversations.
Oh, man. Steve,
Awesome.
why don't you stay with it for one more?
Okay. Now, what does the future hold for either one of you as far as because like I said, prior to this engagement, I did try to get TC and John on. Do you guys ever see the four of you actually reuniting and potentially getting, I know there would be never a Wendy because we said that before, but someone so you guys could go out and just do one more hurrah?
I don't know.
Are you up for it?
With these knees, I don't know.
Okay, we'll get you a chair.
Yeah.
Richie?
Yeah, I was always of the opinion that once you reach a certain age, who wants to see a bunch of old guys up on stage? I mean, I know when I see some of the bands I used to like when they were younger and see the way they are now, it's just not the same. I prefer to remember them when they were young and vital and had a lot of energy. When I go see Judas Priest, it looks like Rob Halford, looks like your old Uncle Louie. He should be at the table eating his dinner.
All right.
I don't know. I think he kind of looks like which guy from the Tonight Show, and I'm like, what the hell did he do with the beard? It's like a big flavor saver for young guys. Whatever. Oh, sorry, Bobby.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I'd like to see it because at the end of the Plasmatics, I was like 3, so I would like to see it.
Me too. Again.
So I am totally down for it for
Now,
sure.
hey, Jay, real quick. So,
Yeah.
Wes and Richie, that's great. But would you guys ever think of doing it as an acoustic gig? I mean, there's a lot of stuff you guys did and bringing the guys out. Look, Kiss did it. Everybody did it, but throwing it out, Nirvana. But
Kiss did acoustic guitars.
Yeah,
they did Kiss Unplugged.
the unplugged thing, but doing a plasmatic thing and doing it, you guys, on that route of really just Nirvana did it. What the fuck?
Bobby, that'd be weird.
Wouldn't be for me.
I don't know. That sounds.
The Plasmatics was all power, all the guitars, crank Marshalls up to 10. You can't do that with acoustic.
Yeah, I know. It'd be kind of like hearing Motorhead on acoustic.
Just wouldn't work.
There's like a good article interview with Robert. It's Robert Plant. I'm not going to make the comparison, but there's this good interview. It's in Mojo with Robert Plant. You got to find the one after he walks off the O2 show, which was great.
Yeah.
At least it was like 2016 or 17.
Yep.
And they asked him, and he's like, he says it's great, but like, you got to move forward in life, And I got to go with Wes here, You- the band was very, it was theatrical, and it would be really difficult to recapture that, and I think it would just ruin it, even if you tried. And then, of course, there's the issue with Wendy. What are you going to do there? Who's going to sing? And like, what would you do it? I mean, you could. I mean, you could just get a bunch of young kids to do it, and just do it
Yeah,
that
but
way.
it would
That
be a
might the
cover
way,
band. I mean, that's the whole thing then.
That might be the way to do it. I don't have the answer. I mean, I want to move forward with my life, and it. I mean, if there was some way of doing that, I don't know, with me involved or not involved, I wouldn't have any problem with that. But I don't know. It's like a Rubik's cube. How could that
Yeah.
be? And but like, you can get some ringers up there playing it. That's ringers. Like, you get some people up there to just do it. But I don't know. And that wouldn't be cool, because the band, it wasn't about that. Like, I mean, like Kiss, I saw Gene Simmons talking. Oh, we could get new. I don't know if this is quite true, but we could get some young people to do it. I think that would work with Kiss, because they're kind of like a Broadway show, and I don't knock that at all.
So Richie and Wes, I got to ask you: have there been any tribute bands to you guys, to the Plasmatics? There's been a lot of tribute bands for everybody else, but have you guys seen anybody going out there doing this type of thing? We've seen Kiss tribute bands, Eagles, whatever, Heart, Pat Benatar, whatever. But has there ever been a Plasmatic tribute band?
There has.
Yeah.
There's been
Sure.
some. There has been some.
Really?
Yeah, there've been a
Any
few.
that you would say that you guys gave the thumbs up to?
Well, I think the one that played at Wendy's Memorial was pretty good. Remember them, Richie? They were called No Hope for the Plasmatics or something. They were pretty good.
Yeah. I think it was Gita Gash, wasn't it?
Yeah, Gita Gash. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good.
That. And
Right.
I think there's a band in Spain or something. There's a couple of them.
Yeah, there's
why
some out
not?
there. It's flattering, I think.
There was a band out of Philadelphia called Gash. Yeah, that was very good as well. That really had that vibe for sure.
Very cool. Are they still around, Jay? Do we know anything about
the Gash band isn't around anymore. What's her? Oh shoot, I'm drawing a blank on her name. Her name's like Tia or something, and she became the bass player in like another punk band or something like that. Tibby, that's her name. Her name's Tibby. She became the bass player in another punk band. So they're not around anymore, but they definitely had like that feel to it as well. But so that's definitely super cool. Before I wrap things up, because we're gonna cut Richie and Wes loose soon in a second, is Angel, have any final questions popped up from the fans, or do you have a final question of your own?
Nope, we're good to wrap it up.
Cool, man. No worries. Absolutely. And as a final thing to you, Richie and Wes, please plug your guys' socials or anywhere that you can be found if fans would like to reach out, whether it's socials or websites or anything you'd like to say.
Well, you can always go to plasmatics.com, where the back catalog is still available, some T-shirts and other merchandise. And I'm active on Twitter. People can always find me there. And any of your viewers who want an autographed item from the Plasmatics website, just include a note in their order. I'd be more than happy to autograph
Oh,
anything.
very
they like.
cool.
Cool. Absolutely. Richie, do you have socials or anything of your own?
I'm not on any socials. I'm not on no. I'm not on Facebook. I had a website, but I don't know. I kind of lost track of it.
I've been there.
I did put up like I said, I put up "Come On Everybody" on YouTube. Then that's I put that up there, and I've got a couple other things I want. I think that's kind of a cool way to do some stuff. It's fun. And I'm doing this thing with Wayne Kramer coming. Well, the Wayne Kramer benefit, that working with Joey Killingsworth and the Mutants of the Monster from Tennessee. So that's, I don't have, I haven't recorded the parts yet, but hopefully that will be done soon, and that will be done. So I'm doing that, and I think everybody should stay safe and not get too crazy in this world, and listen to the music they like.
Absolutely. Well, Wes, Richie, thank you guys so much for spending your evening with us. It was really cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To get to
you.
talk to you guys and talk about Wendy, talk about your history and everything that you're going. So thank you guys both so much for spending some time with us. Metal Summoners, thank you guys so much as well as always for spending your evenings with us. Our guest announcement on Friday, as always, for next week's episode. As you guys have seen us already post, this week we will be interviewing Miss Fierce from Wayne's World. We will be interviewing Penelope Fierce, the director of Wayne's World, later this week, and we will make sure you know about that when we're able to publish it. But as far as the Metal Summit goes, we will be doing our guest announcement as scheduled on Friday, and we look forward to seeing all of your smiling keyboards next Wednesday when we're live. So on behalf of the Island of Misfit Toys, on behalf of Angel, Psycho Steve, and Bobby, thank you again, West Beach, Richie Stotts, for spending your evening with us. Metal Summoners, thank you guys so much. We will see you guys next week. We love you. And as always, you've been watching the Metal Summit.
Happy birthday, Jay!
Happy birthday, Jay!